All right. I'm going to jump in really quick with a couple of updates about the healthcare working group, and then I'm going to ask Gerard, if he's still on, to mention a new project that is going to be unveiled April 30th that the GBA has undertaken. And then after that, we'll get into Dr. Ann's presentation. The healthcare working group meets currently the first Thursday of each month as a working group. We've been lately working on developing assets for the blockchain ethical design framework for healthcare. Now, we wrote a white paper as a group back in 2020, and we published it. And in the white paper, we posed the problem that there isn't a whole lot of ethical guidance out in the world about how to implement, how to think about building a blockchain solution, particularly for the healthcare sector, which already is rife with ethical conundrums as it is. And so we wrote this white paper kind of detailing what we thought was valuable. And in the white paper, we noted specific assets in this framework that we're creating that we want to offer to the public. And we're in the midst of developing some of those assets. We've created an ethical risk assessment checklist that we are looking to actually start circulating to interested parties during our sustainable economic growth blockchain meetups coming at the end of May. But we've also been working in conjunction with some guidance that ACT-IAC has created, and that's the American Council for Technology Industry Advisory Council. And ACT-IAC, for those that aren't familiar, is it's an industry association that advises the government on viable and useful technologies for government use, among other things. We have members of ACT-IAC that participate with the healthcare working group and have shared that ACT-IAC created a blockchain playbook to disseminate to government entities that really kind of maps out what an agency should probably look forward to in creating a blockchain project. We have created an ethical layer as a complement to that guidance. And so we're working on the ethical layer to the ACT-IAC blockchain playbook. We're incorporating that as one of the elements that we're putting forth in the blockchain ethical design framework. And we're working on various other projects that are kind of in different levels of scope. The government blockchain, well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. I think that's probably a good place to leave it right now. And what I'll do is, before the end of this meeting, I'm going to put a link to the white paper that the healthcare working group has created in the chat. So everybody that's interested in reading it and kind of getting up on what the healthcare working group has been working on, you know, can reach out to me. We welcome participation from all GBA members, and we think that we're making some really good guidance that otherwise would not be there, or would be you know, out in the world, you know, years from now. So that's the quick synopsis for the healthcare working group. Again, we have this meeting the third Thursday of every month, and as you all know, it's free to the public, and this is a forum for us all to express our ideas, share information, and oftentimes we'll have a featured speaker like Dr. Ann, who will talk about their journey in blockchain and the intersection of blockchain and healthcare. So I dropped my information in the chat. Anybody that wants to know more about the healthcare working group and some of the things that we're up to, just drop me a line in LinkedIn. We'll connect, we'll talk, and I'll get you up to speed. And we welcome all GBA members as participants in the healthcare working group. With that, I wanted to give it over to Gerard, who can tell the membership here about the blockchain maturity model, which is slated to be unveiled by the GBA in April. Gerard, do you want to say a few words about the BMM? And if you do want to say a few words, you have to unmute.
Okay, well, you drive a hard bargain, but you talk me into it. All right. Well, the blockchain maturity model is trying to solve a problem where blockchain enterprises and governments around the world are in the process of preparing to acquire blockchain solutions. The problem is that they don't really have the knowledge or the framework to be able to assess a good blockchain from a bad blockchain for their particular use case. So we built the blockchain maturity model. It is scheduled to be released on April 30th. I'm going to give you guys a heads up on it. And what it basically does is it evaluates a blockchain solution along 12 different elements, right? Things like identity, privacy, resilience, ecosystem, just a number of different perspectives. And for each one, there's 5 levels of maturity, right? So it really starts with, is it mature enough to warrant research and development funding? Is it mature enough to go into proof of concept? Is it mature enough to be deployed into production? Is it mature enough to be deployed at an enterprise level? And is it mature enough to be globally rolled out? And we've built the expectations for each of the levels. We've put together an assessment framework of essentially a set of processes by which somebody essentially will get their documentation together. They'll identify how they meet the different requirements. They'll put a package together. It'll be reviewed, and then the assessment team will meet with the solution provider. They'll work through it. It's not intended to be a test. It's really intended to be sort of a structured coaching session to help blockchain solutions mature, and really to, once they can achieve a particular level, they can separate themselves from the hypeware, right? I talk to people all the time, and they say, yes, we have this blockchain solution and it's great and it's awesome. It does all these incredible things. It's going to change the world. And I said, okay, well, do you have anything? Can you show me, right? Do you have a white paper? And when you come to the point where you say, well, can you demonstrate or back up any of your claims? Generally, it falls apart, right? So the blockchain maturity model is a structured way that folks in the acquisition space or folks that are preparing to present to either investors or potentially customers, they actually can say, we've actually had an independent third party evaluate our claims and can validate that we do meet certain global or industry expectations. In addition to the core requirements, there are supplemental requirements specifically for particular industries. Healthcare is one of the ones on the roadmap. The first one we're rolling out is election voting and election systems. And in voting and election systems, there are requirements. So like, for example, typically, if you're going to do a financial system, you need to make sure that your identity system is going to comply with AML, KYC, anti-money laundering, know your customer requirements. However, in an election system, you need to make sure that there is separation between the identity of the voter and the solution and the selection they make. So the supplemental requirements will deal with some of the nuances that are different for different industries. This group is, Marquis is going to be leading an effort to help identify, if you are building a blockchain solution in the healthcare space, what are some of the requirements that you would expect a healthcare blockchain solution to have? Again, it's not a requirement in terms of product requirement, but it's more in terms of generally in healthcare, things like HIPAA compliance and things like that. Marquis, does that? And if anybody's interested, I'll drop a chat here, a link in the chat in just a moment, where you can get information about it. Our first formal training session on it will be at the May event, May 25 through 27, at the Mayflower Hotel in Washington, D.C. during our conference. Marquis, did I do good?
Yeah, you did. You did super good. And that actually is a good segue for another project that the Healthcare Working Group is going to embark on. And that's using the blockchain maturity model and applying it to healthcare solutions and the various and sundry and very unique challenges that healthcare has. So Kumar, you had mentioned in the chat that you were looking to get involved in some of these projects. That's something that you and I can talk about when we connect after this meeting.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right.
Hey, and Aaron, when this meeting is over, Aaron, can, you and I need to get together, because somehow there was a disconnect in the invite, and unfortunately, I can't get to the place and change that. But we need to fix that for all future meetings.
Awesome.
We probably
Sounds
have
good. I
a
will
bunch
reach
of
out after
folks.
the meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so that's just about everything for the quick and dirty updates from the GBA side. Aaron,
Mark, I have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
When you're looking at the blockchain in healthcare, are you evaluating the attributes of the architecture, meaning its immutability, its provenance, persistency, and whatnot, or are you looking at the attributes of a particular blockchain within the healthcare space?
So I'm not sure I understand the question. Let me, I'm sharing my screen. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, and I was about to do the same thing. This is a good. Yep.
So there are certain things that we believe should be common to all blockchains, right?
Okay,
so
beautiful. That's what I was getting at. Okay, fantastic.
Yeah, those are the BMM core requirements, and then the supplemental requirements are, and so let me just share one or two more things about this. We are in conversations with several different government entities that are interested in formally incorporating the blockchain maturity model into acquisition standards and law and tools. Our advice to them has been, don't make it a requirement. The model is too young, it's too immature, but by all means include it as a guiding document, right? So saying things like maybe in acquisition decisions, look for blockchain solutions that can demonstrate that they address these topics, or maybe preference may be given to folks that can demonstrate this, but under no circumstances should you make it a requirement, because the model's just not that mature yet. But that's I'm very proud of the work that the folks that have been putting this together have done over the last 2 years. So
Joe, you're working on voting. When do you think the healthcare space will have the equivalent of what you're doing with the voting space?
And back to you, Marquis.
Well, Jorge, to give you the brief answer, the BMM being slated for unveiling at the end of this month is a living model that has a lot of room for growth and for expansion. And so depending upon how some of the different working groups engage in creating that guidance, some of the specific use cases might be developed for use within the BMM sooner rather than later. But we on the healthcare side are planning on getting in there as quickly as we can and starting to mix it up. So, and your participation is always welcome in these kind of things.
Hey, and let me throw one more thing out. One of the ways that we go ahead. Go ahead.
No, because the BMM you references is in reference to the BMM that is produced by the OMG, correct? The Object Management Group?
So no, this is the blockchain maturity model, and Gerard just dropped a link in the chat for you to take a look on the GBA website at your leisure. But it's the blockchain maturity model that the GBA has instituted and is starting to build upon.
Okay, fantastic.
Now I think it may have some correlation to, but I'm not sure what the blockchain maturity model out of ONC looks like. But there may be some.
Well, no, it's the OMG Object Management Group has a BMN model as well. So just be aware of that, because when you're doing presentations, and you may have an egghead like myself who has to attend those meetings, and you know the acronym soup that we're all in.
Yeah.
Also, it's like, is that the same? this alphabet can't get any bigger. So
Right. But that's a good
yeah,
point. Thanks for pointing that out.
yeah.
I did not
Yeah,
know
that one you might,
Yeah.
especially if you're briefing higher up types, you'll get a stray cat in the middle of the presentation say, did you mean X? And you're like, no, sir, that's not even what I'm talking about.
Thanks for pointing that out.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, let's get into the presentation for this afternoon. Well, afternoon, morning, evening. Aaron, if you wanted to take it away and introduce Dr. Ann, and then we can go from there. Oh, also, Gerard, I don't know if you have control to allow other participants to screen share. Okay, just wanted to make sure that it wasn't disabled.
Awesome. Thanks, Marquis. I will be kicking it over to Dr. Ann. She will be doing an introduction prior to getting her presentation started. Thank you all for jumping on today and giving your brief introductions of yourselves, and also any questions that you have throughout the presentation. Please just drop those in the chat and I will be sure to get those, and we'll have those answered after the presentation is completed. Kick it over to you, Dr. Ann, to get us started.
Hi, thank you. Can you see the presentation?
Yes, we can.
Okay, excellent. All right, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Again, I'm really honored to be able to present our companies, including our pilot sites. And for those of you who did not join at the beginning, we introduced ourselves, but you'll hear from those leaders who are actually in the trenches, working with individuals who hopefully will benefit from the technology. And so our presentation today is not just about the software. It's not just about the infrastructure, i.e. blockchain. It's not just about the technology. It is really about the individuals, both the providers and the clients / patients, who the technology is geared to assist in making sure that the services and the work and the care that they deliver can be done in an effective and efficient manner, right? And so the presentation goes through a concept that I think so many of us who are technologists and developers and other than direct care providers don't usually get a chance to hear from those in the trenches or hear from the users. So I hope that in listening to this presentation, that an understanding and a passion will grow as to the why. Why do we produce these technologies? Why do we implement technologies? Why do we do what we do? And it's all about the client, and it's all about the patient. And I use the word client because within the sphere and the niche that I'm going to present to you, they say clients. In the healthcare, pure healthcare world, we say patients, but in this presentation, clients equal patients, just so you know, okay? Our agenda today. I'm going to talk about some of our assumptions, disclaimers, and our assertions, and then introduce again who we are. Then, more importantly, our why. Why did we do what we did? That's proper English, I hope so. Why are we in this space? Why are we providing and producing the technology and tools? And what are the drivers for the work that we're doing? Then I'll talk a little bit about our journey. And so if you are also a startup company, which we are, I'm hoping that the experience, this brief description of our experience, can also give you some insight and also excite you to keep going. Then I'll talk a little bit about the vision for the future. What is it that we see looking ahead, and how can we have an influence and impact on the lives of individuals by leveraging our technology? And then, of course, at the end, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. Also, if you raise your hands during the presentation, I can't see it. So if someone raises their hands, maybe Marquise or Aaron, maybe just let me know, and then I can address a question if it comes up. So assumptions. I'm assuming that you're familiar with blockchain and Web3 technologies, but know that I am not a blockchain developer. So if you have deep questions around the technology, I'm going to lean to the others on this call, like Dr. Wendy or Marquise or Rakesh Srilambata, who is also online and is our data and technology expert. I do have some important assertions though. The team, all of us here, we are visionaries. We are change agents. We are exponential thinkers. We are educators. We're devoted to changing the current narrative. And most of all, we are harmonizers, not disruptors. I remember when blockchain first was introduced and I became aware of it, it was always thought of as a disruptor. But I think beyond that right now, it may disrupt, but it really should harmonize. And that's what technology should do, is harmonize and bring individuals, bring institutions, bring data together for the good and for the better in terms of outcomes. So who are we? Adonai Counseling Employment Services and Fresh Start Professional Services. There are two community-based organizations who are in the trenches, and they are our pilot sites. So Anna Pereira from Adonai Counseling and Employment Incorporated is online. And Anna, would you mind telling the team a little bit about your organization and the type of work that you do?
Hello all. So Adonai we are a community-based behavioral health organization out of Tacoma, Washington. We serve 6 counties in Washington state. Our agency supports, we do behavioral health, which includes substance abuse disorders, as well as mental health, employment. We do reentry services for individuals who have been formerly incarcerated coming back to their communities, helping to set up transitional plans for them as they come home. We are, through our agency, we also are kind of a referral network for other individuals that might be coming out of the institutions that are going back to other parts of other states or in other communities outside of our region, where we will help them be able to get services set up. I'm really excited about being a part of the blockchain, and especially with the database that Anne is presenting to you today, because I think it's going to really take us out of the silos that a lot of us work in when it comes to working between other state agencies and as well as community providers, and being able to really capture the clients and the participants that we work with stories and helping them to eliminate barriers, especially those that are returning from prisons or other institutions.
Thank you, Anna. Were you going to say something else?
No, go ahead.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
I'm trying to be brief.
That's okay. That's okay. It's good to hear from you. And then Terrence, are you still on?
Yes, I'm still here.
Would you mind sharing a little bit about the work that you and your team are doing?
Yeah, mine, yeah. Again, my name is Ernest Morgan, co-founder and CEO of Fresh Start. My other colleague is also on here, Franklin Smith, co-founder and colleague of Fresh Start. But yeah, Fresh Start was created in 2011, and as me being a formerly justice of all person myself, we created this organization to help with the reentry and transitional strategy planning, also with peer-to-peer engagements. We also worked with being a resource agent for individuals coming out of incarceration. That's when we started out. Now we also work with youth. A lot of our primary work is with the youth now. We work with individuals through other organizations and referral services, and partnering with other agencies. We also work with finding housing, pretty much what's on the list there on the screen. And we just launched another department in our program that will be working with serve youth with training for AR, VR, training, STEM learning. So we have a lot of stuff going on. I'd like, Franklin, if you'd like to chime in, possibly if you're available to speak and kind of talk about the digital equity piece for us.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Terry. Thank you, Dr. Anna, for leading the way in this process. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fantastic. Just kind of chiming in on what Terry said. Fresh Start Professional Services is an organization that was created by individuals who are all justice involved, Terrence and myself, for the sole purpose of doing reentry preparation and transitional planning back into the community. One thing that we found that was pretty much lacking in the Department of Corrections for people to come back to the community and not be prepared or not spend the time that they were doing investing into their future. And with this blockchain idea, the beautiful thing about it is once we get individuals in a position where the Washington State Community Technical College, Department of Corrections, the Washington State Department of Health, DOL, all come in line, we can actually create a perfect continuum of care model and coordinated care to where one person can see what's happening with the individual, not only from the date of entry into the system, but follow and track them all the way back to when they come to the community. One thing that is just put on, and Dr. Anna, I must admit that this presentation is fantastic. You hit on some great points, is the fact that 95% of all individuals incarcerated within our country will come back home one day. And the thing that we look at is not when they come back home, but how do they come back home? Do they come back home better than when they went into the system, or do they come back home worse than they went into the system? This is an opportunity for us to be able to use this model to continue to assist individuals in coming together, or for organizations to come together so we can ensure that individuals return back to the community better than when they went into the system. One of the other things that Terry was talking about with Fresh Start Professional Services, not do we only deal with reentry preparation and transitional planning, but we feel that one of the things in the creation of our organization is how do we help to dismantle the school to prison pipeline, one of the vehicles or avenues in which individuals are actually introduced into the system in the first place. Introducing, being on the forefront of trying to dismantle that system in mass incarceration and work with the community to help us address some of the trauma and experiences that are going on in the community that leads people down this path is one of the premier things that Fresh Start tries to stand and do in partnership with Adonai and a few other organizations that we work with in the King County, Pierce County, Snohomish County areas in Washington State. We feel that we have created a coalition, a complementary coalition of professional service providers to be able to assist the needs of individuals. And this model, this platform here will only help us accelerate and expand the work that we are doing.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was powerful, powerful to hear from, like I said, the individuals, the leaders who are performing the work on the front line and the reason for the technology. Exponential Health Tech Advisors, that's who we are. And we are going to be forming Axion Galaxy Incorporated. So we are, like I said, HIT, Health Information Technology Professional Services. The team of us who formed Exponential Health Tech Advisors, we have over 32 years of health information technology implementation and consulting experiences that we're bringing from the acute care and outpatient health services world into the community-based organization and community-based industry to help with transformation, right? Because there is a gap, a huge gap at the community level. And that's really where the needs really are. And we're hoping that with this partnership of both operations, mean delivery of care and services, and technology, we can bring awareness to the needs within the community and do the right thing for the right reasons to leverage technology to deliver better services and care. Our mission and goal as we launch our companies and we work through our companies is to, number one, like I said, do the right things for the right reasons and using data to help with decision-making so that you're empirically making decisions that will impact lives. And in addition to that, as we look forward, as I said, we're visionaries, looking at the change that is coming where the internet is changing to a Web3 platform to be the thought leaders and the tip of the spear for having a Web3 based population health services and solutions platform and professional services. So our why. Let's talk about some of the use cases, the policy drivers, and the problem. Again, it is very important to understand the why. Why are you doing what you're doing? As Franklin stated, around 96% of individuals who are justice impacted come back into the community after a period of incarceration. And based on the statistics from the Urban Institute Justice Policy Center, more than 11 million individuals end up in the justice system at some point of time. What we need to become aware of is that justice impacted individuals, especially when there are physical and mental barriers, are high utilizers of services, both health services as well as social services. When you think about it, you hear the social determinants of health, it all ties together. And here's a population of people, individuals who need an effective and efficient and a quality level of service and care delivered to them on time, in the right place, by the right people. And having an integrated system is required, is necessary to be effective. And there is a gap. So, true life situations. Right, here's the example. One of the examples. This actually happened. Real case. In 2009, 4 Lakewood, Washington police officers were murdered. And I'm not going to go into the particular for this situation, but actually I may ask Anna, because again, as a behavioral health provider who is in the trenches working with individuals and who actually has services and offices within the Lakewood, Tacoma, Washington area may have been impacted by this particular example. And maybe she could speak to it a little bit and talk about similar situations that community behavioral health organizations or community-based organizations like Fresh Start deal with on a day-to-day basis. Anna?
Thank you, Anne. One of the big, the main situation, and Franklin, please feel free as well to jump in, because I think, I know at the time you were with Department of Corrections when this specific incident happened. But the gentleman that ended up killing these 4 officers was an interstate transfer, which means he came from another state and came into was transferred into Washington at the end of the time that he had done. I believe he was in Texas at the time. When he came into, when he was transferred here, his services hadn't all been caught up with him yet. When it came to behavior, where he had mental health and had received some pretty significant treatment within the institution that he was at. When he got out here, he was definitely in a spiraling mental health place. A lot of people had hands on him, but there weren't a lot of systems talking. And unfortunately, in a mental health break, he ended up coming and shooting 4 officers. One of the things that I think is so important when it comes to us, as I stated earlier, we tend to work, a lot of us, in silos. And with the individuals that we serve that come out, when they come out, being able to have a strong foundational setting for an individual means everything, and their ability to be able to have a true fresh start without having to get themselves caught back up into respiraling and getting themselves back into an institution or being placed back in, into the criminal justice system. And so when we're not able to share that information, we have more victims and more people out there that end up being hurt. And fortunately, with this situation, 4 officers lost their lives because of a lack of communication that was happening between the systems that should have been there to support them. Frank, I don't know if you want to share a little bit more about the impact as well, because both of us have definitely, especially you, have had having that foundation means everything for the individuals that we serve.
Yes, Anna, thank you. And thank you for shedding some light on this. I mean, one of the things I didn't mention, as I said, Fresh Start is an organization that was created by individuals that are formerly justice involved. I was actually the first formerly justice involved individual to be recruited by the Department of Corrections to come in to assist them with setting up a pathways program to help individuals and inspire individuals to start using their time in order to address some of the situations that had got them in the position in the first place. One of the things that we find is the fact that the silo that we're talking about that's been described out here with a bunch of community organizations also exists inside of the system within itself, where departments are not talking to each other. The information is not going from one to another. It would be amazing that a municipality or a state government such as Washington State that have all these organizations, Department of Health, Department of Licensing, Department of Social Health Services, could actually get on the same page to create a smooth line system where information is traveling and individuals are being pre-prepared to come out into the community, and that information is following them. Anna has done some great work, and she's always been an asset, her and her organization, Adonai, to the work that I was doing, not only as a reentry navigator with Department of Corrections, but even today out here in the community as the co-founder and director over contracts and compliance with Fresh Start, and to be able to assist us in bridging the gap for the many men and women that we are having to receive and provide services for. Instead of having to or being able to provide services for them in time, we're having to work as a just-in-time situation because the majority of them we have no information on prior to them showing up at our doorstep. Here is what we have here, and I want to thank Dr. Ann again for just introducing this platform, because this is incredible. This blockchain platform is incredible to a point where it assists an individual in having that information in real time shared across that continuum of care, the mental health providers, everybody that's necessary to create the care team for a person's transition back in the community. Without having that information ahead of time, we're not aware of the capabilities, possibilities, and probabilities of what can happen if this person is not given the proper care that he needs or she needs.
Excellent, excellent. I just want to add, Mark Haddle, you make an excellent point. You said many have tried. Unifying these siloed infrastructure is a monumental task. I absolutely agree with you. And all I can say is that we each have to take a step and a leap of faith. And sometimes timing is the change agent of everything. When I think about what we just came out of with COVID-19, right, which may be considered somewhat of a black swan event or had a black swan effect, who would have thought that certain policies around telehealth, as an example, would have been relaxed because of that event, which changed our paradigm? Who would have thought that the unification around certain care delivery would have changed, and even more technology propelled? So what we have to have is a faith in ourselves to take that step and recognize that we are heading into another paradigm shift because of mental health or behavioral health, because of homelessness that's happening, because of all of the barriers that we face every day. If you live in LA, if you live in Seattle, as an example, and other states that are experiencing a huge influx of individuals who came from different and disparate areas geographically and also socially, and are being impacted by economics. We are at the tip, I think, of another wave that we will need to address. So our team here, we're taking one step to close the gap, but your question is very valid. All right, another example here. Again, it's a lot of text here, but what I want to highlight from this is, again, another real life situation with an individual who has a serious mental health condition. And it just so happened, based on the lack of coordination, lack of interoperability between systems, lack of communication, the high utilization that this individual has a significant cost to the system. Okay. So what's the problem? Again, the digital divide. There's a digital divide at the community level. And there's also a lack of contextual evidence-based data, huge gap. Contextual data and being able to aggregate that and integrate that data is critical for our success. And so we are positioning our technology and our organization to be able to fill at least a small aspect of that gap. There's a lack of completeness in the data source, right? Absence of alignment between workflows and documentation. Many community-based organizations are still on paper, so we need to get them digitized to close that digital gap. There's an absence and a lag in the timeliness of data, and we showed that by the real case scenarios we talked about. The silos demonstrate real case situations. The need for data security and privacy, and that is one of the reasons why we chose Burst IQ's platform to build our solution on. Burst IQ is HIPAA compliant, GDPR compliant, as well as SOC 2 Type 2 compliant. So we feel very strongly that that platform supports what we need for the healthcare and service delivery and the data aggregation and the data protection that we need in this industry. Contextual data, again, just an example, just to show you the different streams of information, the different means and pathways that information about an individual can be collected, the types of information that drives policy and drives outcomes and drives, the availability of information to make accurate decisions within a particular context. And so again, I know it's a big task, right? But it takes a first step. And we are contributing to that first step to close the gaps, to be able to collect information across all these disparate streams of information. Being able to do that creates equity across the board for both health and social needs. Again, what's our why? Community-based organizations like Adonai, like Fresh Start, are really focused on addressing the whole person, the whole individual. And me or you as an individual is not just one part. We're multi-parts. We are impacted by socioeconomic status, by our physical environment, by our health behavior, and by our healthcare. In order to provide the level of care and services needed, we need to be able to look at all of that data contextually together to help with understanding and to help with quality and decision-making. They're policy drivers. Recently, the Biden National Mental Health Strategy is requiring that there be an increased attempt to provide comprehensive care for justice-involved individuals. As well as in 2008, the Second Chance Act was established. And of course, beyond that, there have been a second chance grants that's been given to help individuals at the community level, to help community-based organizations to provide these services around employment, behavioral health, housing. What's being missing is the technology to support that aggregation, collection, aggregation, integration of information. Okay, so again, the why. Specifically in Washington State, there have been several decisions and Supreme Court decisions made, which will and has released individuals from incarceration into the community. The community-based organizations do not currently have a very integrated model to help to better manage and collaborate and coordinate. And as Franklin said, to really promote that continuum of care model. And that is why we established our organization and Axion Galaxy 360 Holistic Management Network solution in our 2 pilot sites in Washington. So our journey and our market fit, let's talk about that. So we started, when you go on a journey, it's really difficult when you go by yourself, right? So this vision came out of my dissertation I did for my doctoral program, where I did a phenomenological study on the acceptance of electronic medical records by psychiatrists and psychiatric nurse practitioners in a community behavioral health organization. And I found out and identified, the gaps that existed at the time, both from the usability of current technology and the experience of the providers, as well as, you know, the downstream impact it has on their clients and patients. So I came out of my dissertation with a vision and mission and goal to do my part to change even one small grain of the outcomes that my participants in my study experienced. And I was blessed enough to meet Gerard Daché from GBA and also to meet the team from Burst IQ. So we developed this community. And this community, they're amazing. And to use Marquise, I'm quoting you, they have big, juicy brains. And so they were instrumental in really championing, being our cheerleaders, being our support, opening avenues of exposure for me to at least make an attempt to take those first steps post-doctoral dissertation. My pilot sites, Adonai Counseling and Employment and Firstiq Professional Services. Again, this community who said yes. And I think it's Rashi, you're doing your dissertation, and I totally understand what you're feeling, what your needs are, because all you need is one person to say yes, right? For you to be successful. So these two organizations and their leaders said yes. Leaning into the future, we're laying a blockchain foundation, recognizing the power of the chain and the power or the potential power of leveraging Web3 components at the community level. We recognize that Web3 is a backbone of a new economy. And why not make available that potential new economy to individuals who sometimes people said no to? Let's say yes, and let's provide the services and integrate and do the best that we can. It takes one person to say yes. So in terms of the market fit, again, about our why, you know, and what we've done so far to make that incremental step towards success. We have our target audience, the target customers. We recognize the underserved needs as explained. We know what the value proposition is. We developed our MVP, and now Adonai is giving us feedback on that user experience. Firstiq will be next. They're not implemented as yet. They're next on our list. We are doing the work incrementally. Our journey, again, 2019, formed our company and joined GBA. Between 2020 and 2021, we started ideating these use cases in several work groups within the GBA healthcare working group sessions. We bootstrap the development, the design and development of our solution. We joined the Burst IQ Accelerator Program, where we were provided with the technical knowledge and support, and also the invaluable support from Dr. Wendy and Amber, from a understanding some of the regulatory requirements, policy requirements, you know, just being there and really sharing their knowledge capital with us, invaluable. We met with Aaron and Tyson and Rob every other week and built out with the technical support our solution. We hired a development team. And now, April 2022, we deployed to our first pilot site, which was Adonai. By May, I'm hoping to be able to deploy to Firstiq. Between June and August, stabilization, collecting some basic KPIs. And the KPIs may be initially just on the satisfaction level and the change in efficiency that Adonai or Firstiq will experience, then by the end of this year, be able to collect some Delta key performance indicators and evaluate those, and then post that, go to market. Again, that's my best view right now. It may change. Our offerings, again, we see Axion Galaxy 360 sitting at the junction where mental health, physical health, social services, and justice impacted individuals, all of their data meet, and to be able to aggregate that data, integrate that data, and then provide the services and to be able to elevate and enable the community organizations to provide those services to their community. The collaboration, right? Preparing those organizations to take advantage of Web 3.0. As you know, with all of the data coming from these different sources, it's big data integration for population insight and management. And also being able to leverage virtual reality. For example, Adonai has life skills training that they currently do. We're going to take that content and build it into a VR environment. Again, on our radar. We'll work with other organizations who are serving the community to take some of the best practices that Anna and also Franklin Norton and his team does to help them build out their behavioral health program and packaging it with the technology so that from the start, they have not just the programs built out, but also the technology to support that integrated technology. We see our product as serving as both at an institutional level as well as an individual level. At the individual level, I think we'll take advantage of, and I think Dr. Wendy, maybe you can speak briefly if you're still on, about the granular consent model that Burst IQ's technology allows us to be able to leverage to give individuals, right, who has access to technology, ownership and governance around their own technology. Dr. Wendy, are you there?
Yes, I am. And thank you, Dr. Ann, for the opportunity to speak about this. It was a joy to talk to you more about this when we spoke on Monday. So with Firstiq, it actually provides a slightly different system than many other blockchain platforms. You've probably all heard of fine-grained consent, and it's an excellent technology. Firstiq takes it much further by offering smart data. And this smart data includes, so every data object is encapsulated and it has ownership, metadata, and different attributes that really contextualize every single data object, everyone. And with that ownership, individuals who are owners, and we can accommodate co-owners so that we can finally give individuals more ownership of their own information. So for this situation, individuals would be co-owners with some of the institutions that they manage data with, and individuals would have granular sharing rights. Now, instead of just fine-grained consent, we offer it down to that individuals, depending on how the programmer wants to design the platform, can share data down to a single data point if they so wish. And for the specified period of time, it can be as flexible as you can possibly imagine. And so we're so thrilled that Dr. Ann is using this concept and this technology to be able to give the individuals represented in her platform more choice about how they want to share their information in order to better achieve some of the goals that they are setting out for themselves. So thank you, Dr. Ann.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Wendy. All right, so just a brief view of our technology. This is Axion Galaxy 360, very user-friendly. And it's so funny because Anna, the other day, we gave access to her daughter in our one of our environments to be able to enter data. And she's 12 years old. And we asked her, how was it? She said it was easy. So just like how Geico said, even a caveman can do it, even a 12-year-old can do it. And so we've made the solution pretty intuitive, user-friendly, it's fresh looking, it's not complicated at all. But again, not complicated doesn't mean not effective. And so, Axion Galaxy 360 is a secure platform for storing and exchanging information value. Okay. Our features and functionality right now, and this is the first version, 1.0.0, we do appointment scheduling, the capabilities there, as I showed you on the screen. We do case management, intake, employment services, the social services programs we have built in, some behavioral health documentation is available, referral management, meaning that Adonai can refer to Firstiq and Firstiq can refer to Adonai within the solution. We do also include inventory management where they can document, for example, someone walks in off the street, they usually provide right now, maybe they provide clothing or kits for bathing or whatever may be needed, and they don't capture that information right now. So we've made it so that they can capture those walk-ins who come in, who they're providing services to, and they can account for that later on down the road. Okay, and we also have a client portal. So there are clients who are coming in to see a case manager. They can send them a link to their intake forms, and that client/patient can complete that intake form before presenting on site to meet with the case manager, changing the paradigm in their workflow right now. So leaning into the future, our vision for the Web3, transitioning from an information technology, just pure information technology, to really an institutional technology, really changing and using new information and new social technology to really propel the institutions that we're focusing on into a new paradigm, and really helping to design a sophisticated system, which in the long run will really help them focus on the individuals that they are governed and have a passion to service, right? And so changing that focus, and again, I think this aligns with conceptually the purpose of organizations like Adonai, like Firstiq, is really empowering those individuals. And my PhD mind says, what the theory behind this is. And so you talk about the locus of control, right? Where's the place of control and place of value? How do you see yourselves? And again, technology is supposed to enable and elevate what operations is doing. So community-based organizations like Adonai, like Firstiq, they're working on empowering their individuals, taking that locus of control from an institution, putting it into the individual so that they can help control their destiny. And that destiny can be controlled by leveraging their data. There may be also conceptually, and again, visionary here, being able to tokenize and create a token market for these individuals. They may not be able to compete in the traditional market, and maybe they don't want to, because there are values that individuals who have been incarcerated, coming out of incarceration back into the community, have that may not qualify in the traditional marketplace, but maybe in another token market, right? It would qualify and would really elevate them and produce their own outcome-based economy and the value they deliver. What does it take to be a drug dealer? Think about the skills of what it takes to be a drug dealer. Take those skills and change the paradigm and apply it in a more positive way, right? Marketing, negotiation, networking, understanding the value of the money. Now take that, combine the technology with the social focus of these organizations. And last but not least, one of the missions and goals that I have, and I still have to work this out with VersaIQ, is to really develop the life graph for community-based organizations. We're integrating their physical, behavioral health, social determination of health, and the criminologistic data to ethically promote social health, equity, and safety, bringing all of these different types of data together and use that data to assess risks and improve the quality of life. And that's the end. So I'm open for questions. My contact information is there. I hope that this presentation touched your heart, and that if you too are visionary to take that step, and we're here to support you, just like FirstIQ, GBA, and others have been there to support us to date. Thank you.
Outstanding.
That was a beautiful presentation, Anne.
I agree.
Quick question, Anne, have you presented, because you've done a lot. I remember when you began to do your work and it was more conceptual, but now you're much more on the technical executable. Have you presented this to the monthly HIMSS social determinant of health committee meetings that they have?
I have not.
Okay, because I think at some point, they and the reason being is that in that group of professionals, they speak about it, but they don't tend to solve the problem you're doing. You're taking it more to the next level, which is how to apply an emerging technology in an incredibly difficult socio-technical framework to deliver value to the very individuals who are affecting their behavioral components. They're trying to do that. They've done it through a policy lens to determine, what are the attributes of social determinants of health and whatnot. But I think they would benefit from you educating them on how difficult it is to do what you do. Because there's one thing to speak about it, the other thing is to do.
Yes.
And as a disruptor, my only thing is you better have some good gray dyeing hair in your home, because as the one thing that, as a disruptive thinker, which you are, you can imagine every time you get on a speaker, you're going to have naysayers all over the place. But I think that's the beauty of a disruptive thinker, that they don't care, how disruptive their paradigm is. They do the work, they grind, and they get up, and which is what you've done. Last time I saw your work was 2 years ago, and you've done a lot of work in those 24 months. And so I think you need a bigger platform to showcase some of this work. I would recommend, and I will be happy to put you in contact with the HIMSS Social Determinant of Health Committee, so that you can present and continue to have a conversation of this level at a much higher sort of exchange. So it's not just, this is a small group of individuals you're presenting to. And I'm not saying that HIMSS is a better forum, but I think because they're so devoted to the STO missions, I think they would benefit greatly from the work that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I would appreciate that. I would appreciate
Yeah.
that introduction.
Marquis, send me a little contact, and I will just CC everyone so that you guys can take it away and get it on their schedule.
Yeah, I agree. The work that you've been putting into this project with your team, Dr. Ann, because I remember the first conversations we were having where you were kind of mapping it all out for me. This is significant work, and this is what the healthcare industry is looking to see. Examples of people that are actually addressing the challenges in the healthcare space, especially in behavioral health, because as nuanced in ethical conundrums as healthcare in and of itself is, behavioral health is a whole different animal. And then when you're dealing with food insecure, justice impacted people, you're dealing with homeless folks, folks that tend to be affected with mental illness and need help. This is a significant project, and I'm very pleased for you. I did have a question. I don't know, Dr. Ann, if you or anybody on your team that's on the line that's more technical can elaborate. I seem to remember you had said that there's a convention in in your blockchain solution where records that are being created for individuals are being shared with those individuals as co-owners. I'm wondering if you've given any thought yet, or if this is something that's in your plan in the future, on how a person whose record they now have ownership of can start to utilize it. Do you create a digital wallet for them? Do you have them create a MetaMask account and then move it over, move their digital asset over into their wallet? Or I don't know if my question is clear, but I guess what I'm interested in is kind of the forward progress of, you've got a platform that is creating records about an individual. Say I'm a behavioral health patient, and I get out of jail, and I go into one of these organizations, Axion or Fresh Start, and they create a record on me, and Fresh Start shares that record so that I own it. How do you imagine I could use that record, that I've had this kind of care, or that I've that I have these kind of meds, or on and on? Have you guys given any thought to that?
We have just started thinking through that. I mean, I've had individual conversations with, for example, Adonai and Anna from Adonai, right? Looking at their workflows and looking as an example, the needs of their clients to share information. And I'm going to pause on that for just a minute because I'm going to go back to that. The technical work for that has not begun. And so I envision my working closely with Burst IQ to figure out what that technical integration should look like. But to your point, back to the actual operational flow right now, and Anna, are you still on?
Yeah, yes, go ahead.
Can you talk a little bit about some of your clients, what type of information they need to share and how they need to share it? And I think that will drive and maybe help to clarify, taking that into the MetaMask world, right? And then having access digitally to share where that information may go.
So even if we would just look at, let's say the gentleman that Ann put in as a presentation, Mr. Clements, who came out here to Washington and ended up shooting the officers. When I think of one of the things I think is going to be really amazing, especially as this starts to grow and starts to develop its web, is the ability for an individual to be able to, let's say that got, like him, who got out in Texas. When he got out, he needed to have mental health. He had all these different services that were put in place, that those services were connected to this platform. Even our folks that we work with, to be able to take the work that we've done, and let's say they transition to another community, to be able to own their records, to be able to own their story, that says that where they can take, these are all the things that had worked for them. These are all the things that helped them to be successful in being able to, within their community or whatever those barriers are, and to be able to share that with the next community that they go to. It would it could truly eliminate the those that are supporting them struggle in being able to provide those supports. Does that make sense? And so, like, for some of our folks, we're getting ready to, we've got several folks that have been transitioning down into California and different places like that. Being able to have a place that we can, share the different things that we've been able to provide, and that's the stabilization forum for them, it'll be huge. And being able to give that data to another social service agency or another mental health program or whatever, partner that we could be able to, that will be a part of this person's life.
And they could choose who they share it with.
Absolutely, which definitely brings power back to that individual.
Yeah. Does that answer the question, Marquise?
It does. Thank you very much.
Sure.
While we're pausing, I actually had another question that came to mind, if I could pose it. And again, this is Dr. Ann, to you or anybody on on your technical team or any of your partners, can this solution be used as a mechanism for the service providers that are interacting with this data to demonstrate value-based care?
I believe so. I believe so. What I think we're missing right now is a lot of the billing component that is in a traditional EHR. And so the next phase that we need to be able to bring those claims and billing component in somehow, some way, because that again will help to be able to aggregate data to see whether or not you are providing value-based care, right? And then longitudinally, does that value-based care along not just the physical health, the mental health, but also the social aspect of it, does that truly deliver the outcomes, positive outcomes that we expect?
Right. Hey, Dr. Am, this is Terrence. May I be able to share a little bit, right?
Absolutely,
On
absolutely.
that question there. For the short time that I've experienced the database, one thing I realized immediately is that this is a very universal database to where it can be developed to fit your way of processing information into the database and being able to share with other providers, to where all the I's are being dotted and all the T's are being crossed. It's a very, very friendly, user-friendly database. And I'm not a data person, so for me to say that, that's one hell of a compliment, okay? I mean, I like that. Anna was there, she saw me and she was like, yo, okay, yeah, you got this. So, and one thing I can say about Dr. Ann's team is that they're open to suggestions to be able to modify it to what you want or what your network wants.
Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. That's really valuable to me to hear that and for our team to hear that. Thank you. Any other questions?
Dr. Ann, I just wanted to share that I was just almost moved to tears during your presentation. What you are doing is so important and so valuable. I was also touched by your partners at Adonai and Fresh Start. The combination of your groups is making such a difference. And I was touched very, very deeply by your work, even though I knew about your work. It's just, it's wonderful and amazing. And we are so eager to continue to support you on your journey.
Yeah, I second that.
Oh my gosh. Can't hear about you all.
I got to tell you, Dr. Ann, me and my group recently got involved with an organization here in the DC area that tries to make an impact to feed food insecure populations in the district, in Baltimore City, and they're spreading out to some larger cities on the East Coast, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. And as you can imagine, unfortunately, a lot of the many members of food insecure populations, especially when they're on hard times and they're in the street, they have behavioral health needs. And so I'm trying to, the brain is crackling with all of the ways to connect some of the work that you've been doing here, some of these concepts, with other groups. And this group that I'm talking about in particular, it's called Breadcoin. You could look it up. But other groups that are trying to attack, these problems that plague our society for those that are underserved, that have kind of been cast away historically by our society. I think there's a real opportunity to not reinvent the wheel when it comes to the work that you've done and the work that others are doing, and kind of coming together. So this is very encouraging, very, very enlightening work.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Ann, I had to step away for a little bit to deal with some other stuff during part of the call. So if you mentioned this and I missed it, I apologize for duplicating. But Ann's going to be presenting this at the May event, right? In fact, let me drop that link at the event at Washington D.C. at the Mayflower Hotel. And did you share that at all?
I did not.
Okay.
And my community
Well,
partners will be there with me also.
Right. So this would be a great opportunity to meet Ann and her community partners. And we want to basically showcase what she's doing to the whole world. This event basically seats about 600 people at the Mayflower Hotel. There'll be a virtual component. We'll also have investors there as well. And we have folks from government at the local, state, national, and international level. So all of those folks will be there, and hopefully we can connect Ann and her project to investors and government supporters globally. So if you want to come and also come, you definitely want to come to the evening reception because it's got the cowboy steampunk. Marquis, you want to say anything about the receptions?
Well, I mean, I think you just stole my thunder with the cowboy steampunk theme. So the receptions for GBA events are always spectacular. Is that the one that's at the Spy Museum?
No, the one at the Spy Museum is the government VIP one. That's invitation only. But we all, and just to let you know, one of the speakers in the event is going to be an ambassador from El Salvador. So she's going to share a little bit about what they're doing, and I'd be very happy to introduce you to the ambassador. We'll have ambassadors there from several countries. So I think they're all going to take a very active interest in what you're doing.
Thank you. Wow. I'm blessed. Thank you.
You are blessed. We're all blessed by you, Ann.
That's right. Well, Aaron, is there anything that you wanted to add to the conversation?
No, I just want to say congratulations to Dr. Ann. It's so awesome. I mean, I know I've worked hand in hand with you as this process has gone on, but to see your progress, it's truly amazing. And I look forward for what's to come.
Thank you. And like I said, we couldn't have done it without you and Tyson and everyone from the from the Firstiq team, as well as from the GBA team. So you're part of this too.
And I'm going to talk to Jordan about taking this recording and putting it on our YouTube channel so that in fact, if anybody else is interested, if you go to the GBA page under resources, under news and information, if you go to videos, you can get to our YouTube channel. And I'm guessing sometime in the next day or two, I'm going to go ahead and drop this in the chat as well. If you can go to our YouTube channel, and you can get this the full video, and by all means share it with other people that you think would be interested in this space.
There you go. Absolutely. Well, we're just about 20 minutes before the hour. I don't know if anybody had a wayward comment, an impression on what we just heard from Dr. Ann, or if there's anything that you'd like to share. Now's the opportunity.
Or we can give people their time back.
We can also do that. If there's
Marquis, one thing.
Yes, sir.
If anyone else on here is interested in speaking, they can go on the next roundtable. They can go to the GBA website. There is a form that can be filled out, or feel free to connect with myself or Marquis on LinkedIn and let us know you're interested, and we'd be happy to have you speak on the next one.
Oh yeah, Aaron, be sure to drop your LinkedIn link in the chat.
I will do that now.
The only caveat is you have to be a GBA member to speak at GBA events. So if you're a GBA member, awesome. If you're not, well, then become a GBA member.
Right.
Cool, yeah.
All right. I think we can call this a meeting for this third Thursday of April. Thanks everybody for joining. This is always enlightening. I really I'm really encouraged by the participation and the information that we can share. Reach out to me, reach out to Aaron, reach out to Gerard if you need any information about GBA events and happenings, especially with the Healthcare Working Group. Reach out to Dr. Ann if you wanted to hear more information about EHT advisors and their take with this solution in conjunction with Firstiq on community mental health solutions using blockchain.